welcome Professor Heinzlop, and how are you today?
I'm good. I'm a little sick from the 2 pounds of tuna I just ate, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to have you here today. Now, we had you read a few stories from 10th grade English textbooks that would be on the same page with reading sources. What was your favorite story?
I'd have to say my favorite was The Interlopers. I used to hunt myself, so it was a good, relatable. It was really relatable for me at that time. It had a really strong display of conflict in that story, I think. Lots of conflict. What do you think?
Well, I thought the story was really great. I mean, there's different kinds of conflict, right? I mean, there's like girl conflict, and then there's like time conflicts, right?
Yes, but not quite. When we're talking about literature, there's person versus society, person versus nature, person versus supernatural, which is ghosties, and person versus technology, like an iPhone. The Interlopers has both person versus person and person versus self conflict. The person versus person is pretty self-explanatory. Person. They have to become tolerant of one another. Ulrich and George, without the E, Jorg. And the other type of conflict is person versus self, because they both have to find it within themselves to forgive the other person and put aside their pointless fighting.
Very interesting. And let's see, what story did you think had the strongest theme?
Well, I believe in my reading, that Harrison Bergeron had the strongest literary theme, because there is more than one. Many. Multiple. The first theme teaches you that excessive government control can ruin society, like a dictator. And the second theme teaches you that limiting yourself won't allow you to get the most out of life. Both of these themes I completely support, and I think the author displayed them quite well, if I don't say so myself.
Very interesting, Professor. Now, I'm curious to see what your opinion is on this one. By the Waters of Babylon, I thought it was a little bit dry. What did you think?
Dry?
Yeah, it's dry. A little bit boring for me. Personally, I just don't relate to it as well. What did you think?
Well, I thought the idea of the story was great. I would have told it differently, but there's a lot of irony, and I really appreciated that in the story that I read. When you find out that John really ended up in New York City, you can see both dramatic irony and situational irony. The dramatic irony is that there are clues as to where he is before he finds out that it's just a city got demolished. The magic that he sees there is really just electricity and plumbing. So that means that you know something that the character in the story does not. The other kind of irony is situational irony, which is more well known. This usually happens when you expect something and get exactly the opposite result. So in this case, when John was looking to find the city of gods, he's really just looking for people who are just like him.
I'm sorry to get a little bit sidetracked, but whenever I hear the word irony, I always think of that song by Alanis Morissette, the one that Ironic. Wait, can you just play that music really quick? Alright, sorry. Back to what we were talking about before. Now, with irony, I didn't know that there were that many different types of irony. I've certainly learned something today, and I'm sure the people in the audience have learned something too.
Well, actually, Debbie, there are 3 types of irony in literature, but most people just know it as sarcasm. Like if I told you looked really cute today, but you really don't. There's also verbal irony, but I don't care.
Anyway,
Neither
continue.
does Jordan. There's also verbal irony, which is like when a mother tells her kid, well, since you did so good on your report card, you get to spend a week grounded. The kid doesn't get it. It's that type of sarcastic wording that can be used in many cases. William Shakespeare actually used verbal irony in Romeo and Juliet. In the beginning of the play, he mentions that the two families are alike in dignity, but their actions throughout the play, with all the murder and drama, show they are less dignified than one would actually think.
That's really interesting. You know, I never would have picked up on that. But I'm going to have to stop you short because we've got to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we'll be talking more about our literary elements.
Where'd you put my